Calvary Cemetery of Chicopee, Massachusetts. And we're in the back of the cemetery, the St. Francis section. Very important section because this is diocesan cemetery by an old definition where they buy it for the whole Catholic Diocese of Western Massachusetts. For people that this is the second Catholic cemetery in West Massachusetts. This is for people that had nowhere else to be buried. Before that, any Catholics that would die, they would truck out to eastern Massachusetts. Now here you have the Potter's Field. Paupers' graves are all through here. There's some have gravestones that probably because the family later was able to put them in. Now don't look at the modern ones when I start to pan over, but if you look at all this grassy area through here into the next section, there's a lot of empty spaces right through there. These modern ones in the front have been put here in the last 10 years, but that section of all grass is where the very oldest burials from 1851 onwards are buried. And they're buried mostly without stones. They were very poor people that could not afford anything anyway. They might be single people, they might have been very young people such as babies, they might have been associated with orphanages or old age homes or hospitals, and they were the responsibility of the Catholic Church to get them buried. Now, if you look, just to orient you, the two maintenance buildings are back here, and so that tells you where you are. Because the next object I'm going to bring it to is an incredible story. So we're going to walk over here. Remember where you are. You're back of St. Francis section. Okay, and I'm going to point to back here about 30 feet in. Two gravestones are there. And I'm going to go next to the camera to tell you who they are. Buried back here is a father and daughter. In 1927, Faustino Estanislao died. He died because of suicide by hanging himself in the basement of his house on Front Street in Chicopee. He had come to the United States exactly 14 years early, 1913, September 24th. During that time, he worked for the Dwight Mill, which is the biggest mill in Chicopee. He did a great job. About a year before he died, in 1926, he broke his leg, fractured it in multiple places, such that he couldn't work very well. So he took several months off. He tried to get it to heal, but he couldn't walk right. He went back to the Dwight Mills, and they said, no, we don't want you here. So he stayed a couple more months at home, tried to rehab his leg, but it still didn't work. When he went back to the Dwight Mill, they said, no, we're not going to take you back anymore. And he went home, and a week or two later, he killed himself in his own basement by suicide. His family, the year before, had moved back to Portugal. 4 of the children moved back with the mother, or his wife, to Portugal because he couldn't take care of them. He had no job. He stayed with an older daughter and older son, and he got very discouraged. And the 14th anniversary of him coming to the United States is when he killed himself. He cannot be buried on holy ground. By the definition of the Catholic Church, up to 1981, only the bishop could bury him in holy ground. The bishop was said here, put him on the cemetery, but put him away from the holy ground. He has a stone, and his daughter was buried 80 years after his death because she wanted him to have someone next to him in his burial location. She was 6 years old. She had gone back to Portugal with her mother, and she came back to the United States, and most of her life lived in Wareham, Massachusetts. That policy has changed since 1981. All suicides can be buried if they are Catholics in Catholic cemetery. In Protestant cemetery, since 1900, that rule has been that they can be buried in a regular fashion. What's very different here, though, almost every cemetery will have a person like this. What's different, he has a stone, and usually they don't have a stone, so you can locate the person, and that's extremely unusual. Thank you for coming on this stop.